It is important to talk about money with 100%. Other creatives. It is absolutely this like, oh, if you talk about money, then it's because you sold out and you're only concerned about getting paid. Pay artists. We are small businesses ourselves. Yes. It is a job. It is a career. Yes. It is an absolute legitimate way to pay your bills, to pay your mortgage, buy a car, pay for your kids' college. It is not a hobby. Just because we enjoy what we do, that just means we're fortunate. Right. That doesn't mean it's not a job.
Right. Again, Nate showed up on a train from Denver at about 8 o'clock this morning, and now 3 hours later, he's here doing God knows what. So I hope it turns out the way that I have it in my head. With this team, I have no doubt it'll be even better than I thought. So appreciate you guys. I honestly cannot thank you enough for taking time out of your day to, come and chat with us. I gotta give a shout out to my guy, Taylor. Tay, we call him Swifty. T-Bone. That was prior to Taylor Swift. No, he's the general manager here at Alice. Alice is a main social company, brand, if you will. If you've been to Wicked Rabbit or Barry and Rye, Via Farina,
Barcelona.
There you go. Yeah. So really cool that you let us use the venue for this whole
thank you guys for being here.
Honestly, the purpose of this, I was thinking in my head, I was watching one of those Hollywood Reporter, when everybody gets on a round table, some of the most interesting people in the world, right? But we have a lot of those here, I believe. I think there's just a lot. We're just not world known. And so I was like, why don't we get something local like that, figure something out. We can shoot in a cool venue. We can give some love to local entrepreneurs, local businesses, things like that. And I was just like, I always come up with like these creative, I always get creative blocked. It's sort of like writer's block, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, what do I do? Well, I don't reach out. So I actually, I've talked to Andrea Joy several times, and I talked to my guy Nate, who's behind the camera, and Matt, and I've worked with him. And, I just was like, what if I just had them all in the room? So just put people that you kind of admire from afar, that you don't know, have a conversation with and figure it out. Because we're all, we've all, at different places in our careers, but we're all kind of in the same ecosystem. So so that was really it. And that's why I reached out to you guys on IG and I said, let's get a group together and let's have a conversation. So the fact that you guys were all down, I love it. And I think everybody here has a different thing. Believe it or not, I don't know if he has an artistic bone in his body, but he's very creative behind the bar. No, I'm just kidding. Picking on you a lot. But so real quick, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Chad. I'm a filmmaker, videographer, content creator. Was born in Omaha, lived in small town Nebraska. I've traveled the world. I wish I could travel more. I've lived in New York. I've lived in Los Angeles. I've studied film. I've studied acting. I was an actor for a little while. And I moved back here in 2010, started working at M's Pub. And that's where I met a ton of creative people. And I started getting kind of creative I thought maybe the bar thing was for me. And then I started kind of filming myself doing it and all this stuff. And I was like, maybe I do want to get back into editing and post-production and all that stuff. And so I started doing a little post-production stuff for a local company here. And I started kind of growing. I was like, maybe I want to get behind the camera now and test some stuff. So that's kind of what happened. And I started my own thing in 2019. And since then, things have gone really well. But, you always hit blocks. And it's like, okay, where do I go next? So that's kind of what led me to wanting to sit down with some people that are really killing it here locally. So I guess we'll just kind of go down the line here, and everybody's kind of give me an idea of what you do, who you are. A little introduction. Krista, why don't ladies first?
Snap.
I know,
You guys
Yeah,
pick on
exactly.
me. Well, I'm Krista.
Hi, Krista.
Hey, Krista.
Christa Schiessl. I am based out of Lincoln. I am a professional wedding photographer and portrait photographer. I shot my first wedding in high school. I've been a photographer ever since then, and really just decided in 2020 that I was going to niche down into wedding photography and take this business full time because I had been doing it for so long, was so scared for years and years and years to make the leap. Nate helped me. Nate, hi. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. My name is Sharon Manhart. I'm a traditional sign and mural painter. I started painting signs when I was in high school. My first job out of high school was working at a grocery store for 5 years, doing all of their advertising in the shop. And then I tattooed for 5 years, and then I worked a million other random jobs to try to survive. But every job I worked, I would always end up making the signs for whatever place I worked. So after I was working for Autumn Pruitt, Hardy Coffee, bless. She took advantage of me wanting to do those things. I was able to do some work for her there. That spiraled into doing some work for other local breweries and restaurants and stuff. So I've been on my own full time for probably about 13 or 14 years, hand painting signs and murals all over town. I love the blend of fine art and graphic design. So I feel like murals, public art, and hand painted signs are a great marriage of all of that. So that's my story. And my husband works with me too.
You gotta give him some love.
He's wonderful.
He's gonna be like, what? Kevin.
My name is Kevin Kabore. I'm a photographer and videographer, creative. I make a lot of stuff for like social media. I consider myself like a middle child because I do a lot of like online content creation, but then I get to like work with like higher production stuff. I was born in Burkina Faso, West Africa. My dad was a videographer and did a lot of like documentaries, and my mom was a professional editor. So like growing up, I just always had like a
You had no
camera in my
choice.
hand. Yeah, I didn't have a choice, and I've just been making stuff.
It's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
love the stuff that you're creating, man. I mean, I've seen some growth too. It's
Thank you.
That's awesome. I'm Cody Jones. I found filmmaking through photography. I started with photography, and I thought I wanted to be a photographer, and it just felt really lone wolf for me. Like I'd always really loved group projects throughout school. Like every time the teacher was like, find a group of 4, I was like, yes, peak. So, but nobody else liked being in a group project in school. So, and I had kind of missed that. And looking at like a career in photography, I just kind of saw myself working, mostly solo to do art. And that started to really kind of bum me out. And then I was sitting in the movie theater and the credits scroll and there's hundreds of names. And I was like, there it is, there's the team.
Yeah.
That's the group project. So, and it's image making, which I did really truly love photography, but I wanted to do it with people and collaborate. And so since then I was like, I gotta do filmmaking. So now I do a very silly, unique role called digital imaging technician within the camera department of for narrative and television and
why is it
commercial.
silly? What are you talking about?
It's just like
that's, you said a bunch of words that like, I need like a PhD to understand. Like what
that's what I'm saying. It's like too complicated.
Awesome. No,
thanks. And I also do color for post production as well. So
Yeah.
they're like those 2 roles.
I think that's how I know you.
I
know you as a colorist. Yeah,
Colorist, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
No, very cool. And I will say, I love a group project.
Yes.
I love group creative projects.
Yeah.
And in that, I like to say I'm a creative who loves to work with creatives. And how do we make that a good time? But I'm Andrea Joy Pearson. I'm the founder of a space called Joy Brings Light. In that it's a leadership development company. I think we all get the opportunity to be leaders in our own lives. I'm a nationally recognized speaker, facilitator, creative director. I feel like I'm leaving something off. Oh yeah, strategic advisor. So in that, particularly for my creative art side, I am a sound healer. I do traditional sound healing and experimental sound. A visual artist, and you heard me say creative director. I really just like to say, how do we all bring the uniqueness, the special vibe that we each have, and let our minds express together to tell a story, to say something special, and to do something special in real time.
Love it.
It's amazing.
I'm Taylor Kibbie. I've been doing this for about 20 years now. Bartended in LA, Chicago, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and then now Omaha, Nebraska as well. We're part of Maven Social, so we own multiple bars here in town, but primarily we've got the top-end restaurants and top-end bars in the entire city. Again, we really do like getting all the community together as well, too, so we definitely appreciate you guys being here and picking us to go ahead and do this. Any sort of local business, obviously, should support the community. That's the best way to go ahead and continue business.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful space.
It's
Absolutely.
gorgeous location.
It's
It's
a
absolutely
beautiful space.
gorgeous.
Yeah, we, that was probably the main thing that made me go like, okay, this could work. Like if we get everybody together and we do it in a different spot at each time, it kind of gives people, maybe they go to a space they haven't either been in a while or have never been, and they get an opportunity to be like, all right, it's like I got to tell my friends about this. This is cool. So gives them some love.
That's a great way to just keep it local as well too. And just,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
for sure. Thanks again, guys. So I guess a few questions, like, so, this is open discussion now at this point, and we all cross talk, just talk to me. I'm not the host. I'm just a cog, right, in the machine. But, so lately though, I've just kind of been, what are people doing, for, their, I call it creative block. Like, how do you get out of that? How do you hammer through that? I mean, Kevin, I've seen you do. I saw your work, and you were always behind the camera, and you've lately started getting kind of in front of the camera, and kind of inspired me to be like, yeah, I got to do that too. Like, why do you think that was important for you?
Well, I feel like I've always done it, but like I just didn't post it. I just didn't like it. I wasn't confident, and then I was like, I'm very competitive, so I played basketball growing up. I was like, I'm nicer than these people, and they just don't care. So I was like, okay, I just gotta not care a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, my haircut was bad, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't post it. So I was doing like dumb things.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That's real.
Perfectionism.
Anybody else like have like what how do you like? I mean, I don't know. I know filmmaking, photography, things like that. But like tell me about like what you do. Like I don't know anything about it.
As far as what I do, it can be very isolating when you're just creating something by yourself, because if you're not filming somebody else, like this is something you at least have one other person that this is bouncing off of. But if you're just painting a wall, you're literally just you right there 6 inches from your face painting a wall. It's very isolating. It's very on your own. As everybody said in our introductions, though, it's about collaboration. So the way one of the number one things I hate in a creative community is gatekeeping. So my mission, my soapbox is about educating artists about the business side of being a creative. Yeah. So when I'm struggling with coming up for a layout or what content is going to be in a mural, I have multiple group chats that I can just say, hey, this is a picture of the wall. This is what the client's like. It's a small town, but we want to do something that's a little bit edgier, but not so much so that all ages aren't going to enjoy it. Right. So reaching out to your community and saying like, what envelope, like what edges can I push here, but still keep this? So just reaching out to community and having those conversations with others is how I get through that. I don't know what to do right here when you're holding a pencil and a piece of paper and you're just stuck.
Community is everything.
100%.
Yeah.
But nurturing those community relationships, because if you want to just be yourself in a studio working by yourself, you don't have that community and you're only hurting yourself. Like everybody loses when you isolate yourself.
Sure.
So nurture.
Yeah.
I think so two things. I think community is everything, right? And one, I like to say you are your first community. But inside of that, I think the release of perfection is really important. So like just to like jump back to what Kevin was talking about of saying like, oh, I make all this stuff, but how much actually gets seen by others? And I think that's probably true for majority of creatives. I might even say a lot of us here that like we make more than what people see, right? And it's that release of the perfection and trying to show up a particular type of way, or something that I struggle with is always wanting to make sure things are really high quality, right? And in that, being able to say, it's okay. People are like pulling out their phones, like getting on just in the car, you know, no production, like any of this, and saying it's okay for me not to be perfect. And that in itself is beautiful, right? And also taking on a mindset, something that helps me at times is taking on a mindset of being iteration focused. So like, I'm not focused on how do I make this thing perfect. I'm focused on how do I just have a whole lot of iterations and know that for me to get to the more perfect, the process, which doesn't exist, right? But like the like highest quality, I just need to go through a bunch of iterations. So it's like, okay, boom, 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 boom. I'm not even going to worry about really how it's looking for real until we maybe get to the 8th or 9th iteration.
You and I are a lot alike that.
Yeah, it keeps you productive.
I'm version 1 through 20.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's version 2 that work. You know, like that's, but I got to get to 20 to go, man, if I didn't try that, like, how am I supposed to know? You know, I've got to switch it over here. It takes a lot of time, right? Krista's like, she knows, I think she knows well enough to be like, why are we doing this again? You know, it's like, we've shot some weddings together where it's like, I need another tape. but yeah.
No, but see, I'm like, no, take that first and second take and we out. Like, it's going to work. Like, that's just the iteration of that. It'll be better 6 months from now, but like, I'm not going to try to be that. I'm just going to try to be what I can be right now.
Understood.
And like, I think people like authenticity. So like, it doesn't have to be 100%. Perfect. So it's like, we got 3 takes of this.
And that's it.
And that's
it. Moving on.
And that's it. Like, let's just get to the next thing. Like,
I get you. Yeah, I feel the same way. Tell me about the wedding photography business. You know, so when I first was doing it, I was like, okay, I think photography is the way to go. You know, and Nate and I were just like, man, photos are so much better, man. The video, it's crazy. Yeah, you get 2,000 photos, but you know, you cull it down to about 400 and you're good to go. Like video can take like months for me to get through like a wedding film. It can take a long time. You got to make it, you know, music takes me the damn longest because you got to get the, you know, the license stuff and all this other. It's like, man, music takes forever. You got to fit all this. Tell me about how do you think from when you started the wedding photography business sort of evolved, and like where are you in that sort of that community? Because she just won a big. You kind of won a big award. Yeah.
Hype her up. Go ahead.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Well, I don't know. Like, there's just everything is so like ever changing and evolving in the wedding industry, and I think it's really important to just be curious, try new things, and that's kind of what helps me cultivate like the new ideas and just new equipment, that sort of thing. Being able to just, I don't know, being agile and flexible and not being closed-minded has really helped me throughout, I guess, this process.
Tell us about this best of that you recently received, this big award.
Man.
Not to ruin the
Okay. No.
Tell us about it.
So, let's see.
You've been nominated like
I'm Lincoln Choice Award winner for Best of Wedding Photography. I've won it 3 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and then 1 year got 3rd. So, yeah.
She did my wife and I's wedding in Colorado, and we got them hung up on our now we have a baby, and she goes through all of our photos. Mommy, Daddy. So it's really fun. I think of Christa every time because it's like, you know, it had such a really nice time and a good moment. Nate was there too. He did the video. But yeah, no, I've always kind of like, every time I've worked it, it's like you know how when, you know, things get, you know, there's a lot of on the fly.
Yep.
Because
100%.
Things happen, there's rain, you know, there's things you can't you know, plan for. But your creative process in getting there, like tell me a little bit about how you kind of, because everything is so different. Like, how do you plan? Do you have a plan going in, or are you more of a let's fly by the seat of our pants?
No. There's a game plan ahead that we plan months in advance.
For sure.
But obviously it never goes as planned because there's always something. Somebody like a bridesmaid's either like getting the reception venue ready and not where they need to be, or just something happens, and it's to be expected. There's moving parts, and I think just being flexible and being able to fly by the seat of your pants on a wedding day if something needs to switch.
Important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, like, you know, on the aspect of community, even though you're technically it's you doing it, it's your mind, it's your creative process. What has the community sort of like? How has it sort of helped you? articulate your vision? Like, because I'm sure you borrow stuff from other creators. You just, I mean, from compositions to different things. I mean, there's got to be some things.
Yeah, there's definitely some things that inspire me to try new things. Like last week, TikTok inspired me to try like off-camera flash with a trigger and like do that. And so I've been learning that, and it's been a lot of fun.
Did it work out for you?
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to start implementing it. Okay. Yeah.
It just kind of creates like some different sort of dramatic shadows and things like that? Or?
Yep. It changes where the shadows end up landing on, like, usually behind your subject, so they're not as prominent in the shot, and just kind of gives it more of a, I don't know if I'd say paparazzi effect, but just kind of, I don't know, a softer shadow. Yeah. So, yeah.
You know, I think, so I used to bartend, and jump to Taylor here for a second. I used to bartend, and, you know, it would get so busy, and people were just like, they would come to the bar, and they would want something fancy and all that stuff. I'd whip it together real quick. Like, how'd you do that so fast? And I was just like, you know, it's repetition, the whole thing. But I always felt like I was almost going, you know, too fast. Like I was taking the art out of it because I was just trying to get it done. I was trying to get step 1, 2, 3, 4, get it in front of the person so I can get to the next, you know. And, you know, where you are at this level, you know, I've spent some time here. It is art. This is not the type of bartending I did. Like you guys are putting in like what's the smoke bubble that, you know, what's like there's some wild stuff. I did a bunch of content for them recently, and man, we did some really cool things. We got, you know, the things on fire, we're smoking stuff. Why do you think that sort of the bar business has kind of moved into that sort of like, we need to kind of, you know, we need to set ourselves apart?
Experiential.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's the biggest thing. What I always tell everybody as well too is you can buy a bottle of Jack Daniel and have a great night for $15.99. When you go out to a bar,
I've been there, man.
Yeah. When you go out to a bar, I mean, you're looking for experience. You're looking for camaraderie. You're looking to go ahead and make memories. And possibly drink enough to forget all those memories. But when you go out to a bar, I mean, you are going out for the experience. You're paying for that experience, for that camaraderie, for everything that's around you, for the scene, for everything else that's going on as well too. The bar industry definitely has kicked up quite substantially over the last 10 years. A lot of that has been due to social media aspects and stuff like that as well too. The nice part about the bartending industry now is back in the day when I started this 20 years ago, I mean, there was bar books, and there's about 2 different companies. Like Death & Co. was one of the only companies, only bars in the entire United States that made a book of their recipes. So there's one place. So I had books and books and books of cocktails. Just the garnishments, the liquor that go into them. And now everything's just at your handheld. You can see what New York City's doing, what LA's doing, what Japan's doing, what everyone else is doing all across the entire world, all at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's definitely the fun part with creativity as well too. That everything's there, and that's also the problem is you can do anything you want. So you got to figure out where to start and what's attainable. My whole biggest thing is like problem solutions and deadlines. That's kind of what we're hearing here as well too. It's like creativity and problem solution is the exact same thing. For like a wedding, I mean, you have the wedding person that's like, make me look pretty, but not too pretty. I want you here.
Hold on, never.
And you gotta figure out what they want.
Been to a wedding lately?
It's been a while. You gotta figure out what they want. And then, of course, going into deadlines, just like you said as well. So like going fast. I mean, there's always a good solution, a better solution, a best solution. Yeah. And it's gotta be figured out like, what's the deadline? Do they want this cocktail in 2 minutes, or do they want this cocktail in 15 minutes, and I can go ham with that?
Yeah, I think like the first drink I think I ever had here, it was like on fire and smoking and like doing, and I was just like, it tastes amazing, but I'm like, I don't want to drink it. It's too, you know, it's like a piece of art, you know.
There was like painting over your beautiful.
Recently,
Yeah.
we just I went to a convention in Cincinnati, which was the 50th anniversary of the Letterheads meetings, which is basically like old school lettering artists started getting it together 50 years ago. But there was about 600 people in this sign museum in Cincinnati, Ohio. And one of the things that one of the mural artists said there was sometimes you sign the mural and sometimes you sign the check. because sometimes you're so proud of the creation that you've made that you're signing that art and you want to be related to it. And sometimes you're just signing the check and it's about just producing. Like sometimes you're just passing some Bud Lights and that's all they want and you're just cashing the check. You're signing the check. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's you have to understanding your customer. Do they want you creating a custom experience or do they just need you to literally get that sign up right now and just get it done?
That's a good
Well, one of the things that I want to talk about with that in particular is I think that's what is a big separating factor between people who do it as a hobby and people who do it as a profession.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
Because like when you're doing
100%.
it as a profession, you're taking in more and your output has to be higher.
Yes.
And you are also, a lot of times you are in the space that not only am I pleasing myself,
Sure.
I also have to please
Sure.
the person who is signing the check on the other side.
Yes.
And so that means like there's a level of release that's there and a level of open-mindedness and open-heartedness and also deadlines, right? So like you have to be able to do a solid churn and to be able to listen to what other people are asking for and to be able to regurgitate that back out visually or sound wise or engineering wise or lightning wise, right? Like whatever that looks like, right? Versus if you're doing it as a hobby, you can sit and work on that, that one thing that you're doing for 3 years if you want to. You did 75 iterations in the background that nobody saw. Whereas like if you're doing it as a profession, you got to get this done in 3 weeks. And like, it not only does it have to be done, it has to be done to your liking and theirs at the same time.
Do you think that there's there's sort of as an artist, do you ever find, okay, when does that art then become someone else's? In other words, because they pay for it, do they own it now? I mean, they do, but that art, you paint something and you put a signature there. Is that another conversation?
That's a whole other conversation. That's a contractual issue.
I just want to jump in really quick.
Jump in.
I love that you said you sign the check or you sign the art. Ours is one for the meal, one for the reel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
I
look
heard
at that.
before, for sure.
So I don't know. It's just thought it'd be a fun little,
Yeah.
little industry cross. Yeah.
It crosses over. But
Yes.
kind of tell me. I was thinking like.
That's good.
You've got a Van Gogh here, and it's been purchased a gazillion times. Sits in a museum. Whose is it? Is it Van Gogh's, or is it the museum's, or is it us? Whose is it? Who owns it?
In our experience, that's going to be a contractual issue that you have to discuss with your client, because if there are people that if you create a logo and paint it on the wall for a business, you still own the creative rights to that. They own the sign that's on the wall.
Got it.
So if they want to put that logo that you created on t-shirts, on hats, you have to then sign a licensing contract so that you release the ownership of that. And there could be stipulations of you can use this for 5 years, you can only use this for such and such. And I've done that with other local graphic designers that I've hired them to design an image and they gave me 2 years to print t-shirts with that image on it. But then after that, I would have to re-up the contract. So you own what you create until it's purchased as a free use for whatever they want. Like, then that has to be a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. Now, Christa, have you had an issue with that before with copyright? Like people taking your images and then just like printing them off themselves and like not paying the... Because I thought that there was an issue where they wanted to go save some money and they just wanted the digital images but not print them, but they printed them anyway. I thought there was something.
No, I don't think I've had that issue. Because so in my contracts with my clients, it's a license, like a personal licensing agreement, so they can use those photos for any like personal use. Now, I obviously still hold the copyrights, and I think that's kind of confusing for most people. But it just
if they
kind
change your editing and stuff like that, has that ever been an issue where they like throw filters on it when you post it?
I've seen it happen to other photographers. Back when I was more of a hobbyist, it's happened to myself, but I didn't really have a good set contract in place, so it wasn't really something that we...
I think something along lines with that. So like if a client had photos that you took of their wedding and then someone that had a publication then asked the bride if they could use that photo in a magazine without asking you, I would think would be the issue. Because then it's more of a personal use free,
it's important.
But professional
It's important to protect yourself in that way. Because,
and make sure you get credit for anything that you create. That is such an important thing. Like if you, I work with Ariel a lot with Louis Creative House, and if she will link me in a lot of her reels because I'll help with all like the painting process.
100%.
But I would never take one of her photos that she's taken of me working and not credit her once I share it.
100%.
So if whether I'm at one of your events or whether I'm sharing a photo that you took, always make sure credit the
100%.
creatives. I mean, just tag them somewhere in it. It doesn't have to
100%.
be a whole diatribe, but just make sure that people know,
Yep.
I got this drink, it was here.
Yep.
This is who made it. This is the umbrella group.
Sure.
It's
And this has been a PSA.
Yes.
By Sharon.
give artists their credits.
Well, it's how you honor people. So
Yes.
there's a couple of things that I kind of want to jump in that we just talked about, but let me start where we were and then kind of go back a little bit. So one of them being is that to any of the artists and creatives that are out here, be willing to advocate for yourself. You deserve to have credit. You deserve to feel good about what it is that, particularly again, if you are giving it to another entity, that you feel good about what is happening to it now and what's going to happen to it in the future. And to make sure that you advocate that your name is continually attached to it. And it's okay to say, hey, I only want to give this up for a year, or I want to give you rights to this for 5 years, right? So that you make sure that someone's not just getting something forever and they paid you $5 for it. So be willing to advocate for yourself. It's not always the most comfortable thing to do. Reach out to other creatives who are in some of the same spaces that you're in, or reach out to just other creatives that you know and ask them how they navigate those conversations or how they build out their contracts. Because as you continue to do it, know that people in the background who do it regularly are advocating for certain things to be put into place, and you deserve that as well, because you deserve to feel good about your art now and moving forward. And so then the second thing that I wanted to go back to was actually something Taylor was talking about when people are coming in for the drinks. And what it is like, you know, you can just buy a bottle somewhere, or you can come here and you're coming for the experience. Is I think, you know, so in that space, you heard me say I'm a strategic advisor, and a lot of that is around culture and experience design. And I think everyone wants an experience, right? And I think that's what separates us from computers, is that like we want to have an experience. We want to feel something. People won't always remember what they saw or what they heard, but they often will remember how they feel and how they felt, right? And so it's like, how do you create experiences in whatever it is that you are making, that you are putting out, that people feel something? And so one of like, when I'm creative directing, one of the first things, and like not even just creative directing with teams, for me, if I'm creating something, the first question that has to be asked is, how do we want people to feel? Before we make anything, before we talk about any colors, any light, any sounds, anything, any script, it has to be, how do we want people to feel?
That puts a purpose behind your project.
Yeah, because people want an experience.
So then your art or your creation, it's not necessarily then, you know, it's yours, right? Because you're creating it, but
you're giving it. If you're giving it, you're giving it.
So, but it's also right.
If you're giving it, you're giving it, and you have to accept that. Again, if you are making it for yourself, it's all about you.
But there are artists out there that will make something. It's like, I don't care what the rest of the world thinks of it.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to go out there and do a selfish thing for myself, and people will just buy it because I am who I am. And I mean, if that's the way it is, that's the way it is. Like, I mean, you're lucky like that, or whatever. But.
Partially though, like I mean, I think there's truth to that, because I can say for me, you heard me say my company's called Joy Brings Light.
Totally.
Ultimately, a lot of times I want people to feel joy in some capacity,
100%.
But I can't control whether or not
that's what I'm saying.
That's what the outcome is. So I could say I'm going to, for me as a sound healer, I'm going in to curate a sound healing session, and mine are highly curated and intentional. And I will always ask any clients when I sit down, what's going on with your team, like so that I can build back. And I might say, okay, this team, there's a lot of strife that's happening here. I want them to feel connected, and I want them to feel seen. And so I'm curating with that in mind, but I can't control if that's actually like the outcome that other people feel. And that's not my job though either. And that's where some of that like release has to happen. And even like going all the way back to what Kevin was talking about in that space of being able to release perfection is, you can't control how somebody's going to take it anyway. They might or might not have even noticed the hairline. right? So you can't get too caught up in it because once it's out, it's up to other people to completely determine their whole experience on it.
Kevin, you have beautiful hair all the time.
No.
All the time. Beautiful.
No, sometimes I got a haircut last week. But kind of connecting both of you guys, like I made a video about Omaha, and a lot of people like received it well. But like behind it, it was like, I want to leave. I want to like go to New York because like I feel like this isn't giving me what I want. So like in my response, I made a video to convince myself. And then people took it completely not how I like meant, but it was people were like, "Oh wow, this is beautiful," blah blah blah. And I was like, I was that's not what I was like. What it was.
I remember there was along exactly what you're saying. There was an interview on when MTV used to play music and have 120 minutes interviews and stuff. But they were interviewing a band, and I don't know if it was Coldplay or Pearl Jam, but they said, "So what does this song mean?" And the artist said, I don't want to speak to what it meant to me because after I create it, it could be a love song to someone. It could be a breakup song to someone else. It could be like an independent anthem to someone else. So like you can have an intention behind it, but once you give it to someone else, they can receive it however they want. But like that's the beauty of art is it can be received in a million different ways once it's outside of you. So that's a benefit. That's great. It's more...
Because it almost becomes more than kind of what tributaries off into different things, and maybe becomes more than you even intended because of other people's interpretations of it. Cody, you've been quiet. So, you know, I know you're working on a project that as soon as you say it, everybody's going to know what you're talking about, and I know you can't dive too much into it.
Yeah.
But you know, I think the reason I want to bring it up is because you probably worked on some projects that all of us are like, oh, you did that? Like, that's wild. Like, you were doing some pretty dope things. And Kevin, too. I mean, he's, you know, we'll talk about that, too. He's done some Nike stuff, and we can talk about that. Tell me, what are you working on these days, Cody? And where are you in your work?
So I have a TV show that I got on here coming up, and so you might be familiar with Ted Lasso.
What?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure even if you haven't seen it, everybody knows what it is. So
Yeah.
Congratulations! That's actually wow.
One of the bigger projects that you've.
This is probably the biggest project that I've had the opportunity to be a part of so far.
How do you feel about it so far?
I'm so stoked.
I feel like I just got hired by Ted Lasso.
Oh
my God. Is Apple going to sue us for putting this out in the world?
I mean,
it's not like you're.
Hold on, that pause had me concerned for a second.
So I won't show them the script you let me read, but other than that, we're fine, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, the season 4 has been announced, so I don't think it's a mystery. But
what are you doing?
I'm going to be the digital imaging technician in the camera department.
Wow.
Okay, what the hell's that mean? What does that mean? Are you taking? It sounds like you're taking the photos and you're putting them in the water.
I mean,
in the dark room.
Yeah, maybe. It's a little different.
Yeah, tell us about it.
It's a weird position that came about when filmmaking went from analog celluloid film to digital cameras and digital media. So it entails a whole bunch of responsibilities within the camera department. The one that a lot of people are familiar with is just taking all of the media that comes from the cameras, the digital assets, and backing it up and making sure that that's all done safely and organized and really, like, I love to tell people it's being the liaison between production and post-production, because when you're making the movie and it's crazy and you're shooting everything.
We're talking about millions of dollars that one asset is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
every minute on the clock with everybody.
People on the clock, it's unreal.
Yeah.
Especially with a project like that.
Exactly, yeah. And it all comes through me and gets passed along to post-production. And so at that point, when it comes out of the camera, when it comes out of the sound mixer, like there's one copy of that footage and I hold it and go plug it in a computer. That one always freaks people out, but I love.
You don't want to drop it in the trash.
So, you're like, this is not a time to slip and fall.
Yes.
Wait, they're not shooting on dual cards here? What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of
Holy.
these files are massive, so you got terabytes upon
Oh
terabytes.
my
And so
gosh.
obviously you don't just get a gig like that by showing up and putting your hat in there. I mean, you over the course, your work has to speak for itself. What would you say, like getting that, from when you first started kind of with what you do, how do you think you ended up getting this gig? It's not, through an agent.
Oh
I mean,
my gosh.
how
Yeah.
somebody spoke for you.
How long is a piece of string? I mean,
Thank
I
you.
decided that I wanted to be a
Yeah.
filmmaker in 2018 or whatever. Or I think that's when I went freelance, was in 2018. And
Amazing.
like 2012 in high school, I was like, I want to do photography. And like since then, I've just been taking steps to try to continue to pursue that at that level.
Wow.
And so, the relationships that I cultivate, the people, the groups, the creative groups that I'm in, all work at that level. And I've always aimed and shot, that's my goal, right? Is to be on this level of work. And
So what's so interesting is like, so for me, in my experience, and maybe Christa and even Kevin can attest to this as far as like working in the photography filmmaking business, is we kind of have to put ourselves out there like through Instagram and have our work speak for itself. But in a lot of your work you can't show because it's owned by major studios.
right.
It's owned by big productions, right?
Mhm.
So how do you get your name? And like it's not like you can take a vertical scene and post it on Instagram and be like, hey, I did that
Yeah.
of Jason Sudeikis and a scene with some of the other actors and just put it out there to the world.
Before he says it, he's not going to say this, but he's literally a legend. Like in like the photo video
So
world.
speak for it, yeah.
Before I even like met him, I had been hearing his name by like the top creators in town for like
Yeah.
years.
Yep.
So like when I got to meet him, I was like, oh, this is the guy. Like,
I know, right? He ain't all that.
So
I
he-
take his act.
This man's a legend. So he's like,
You can take it.
no. So he's being humble, but like he's
Legit.
like
Legit.
everyone that's like really cold is like Cody's the best.
Oh.
Yeah.
So word of mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
First time I heard you, I was working with a company, and you would kind of put your name out there to maybe be the colorist. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's color correction,
Post-production.
post-production
Yeah.
for film and video work, stuff like that. But it was the first time I heard your name, and I kind of looked at your style, and I was like, wow, I'd seen some of your stuff, but then I only saw so limited, right? Because the stuff you're working on is just like, I saw, some cell phone videos of you working on some bigger projects. I'm like, man, I wish I could see some of the stuff, but a lot of it is, right, it's all owned by these big studios. So it's kind of, what's the challenge of that? Because you're working with different agencies, like it's much bigger.
Yeah, it's really weird. Cause like the person who hires me is like the director of photography. And that person is hired by the director. And, it's just this like long chain of people that like get employed till it gets down to me. So like, I don't talk to anybody that works at Warner Brothers or Apple. Like,
of course not.
I'll never meet them.
No, never. Right.
But to get like the call, right?
Right.
It's just been years of like trying to get the call, right? Like today somebody calls and the job is like a wedding, and I've shot weddings. And like tomorrow they're like, hey, you want to come be on this little commercial for grandma's cookies, and I'm like, great, we'll go do it, and it's just day after day, like kind of showing up and being the best version of yourself you can be. And and then when you talk to people, having intentional conversations like, hey, like I know we're doing this is what I want to do, and like stuff like that, it gets you like into the right conversations. Because I talked to Kevin and I'm like, hey Kevin, like I'm trying to do this, and Kevin's like, oh, I know like 3 people who do that. You should go talk to these people. So you just never know, because like maybe Kevin's the guy that I need to target. Like you never know who's gonna be the person, right? And so it's like the networking and the community and and
Putting
how you
yourself
can
in the rooms.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so one of the questions that I had for
Yes.
you was, you mentioned that there is a line of people, and basically one person gets hired and then the next person gets hired and then they hire people along the chain.
Mhm.
And you said you got hired by the director of photography. And in that, have you worked with the director of photography before you came on for this particular role?
Yeah, and that's funny that you ask. I've never worked with this director of photography before, and she's done a lot of stuff like Fargo and Alien. So she's gets around, which is so
legit.
yeah.
With the capital L.
Yeah.
Like,
So I'm super excited to get the opportunity to work for her, and she also has like her DIT that she would probably prefer to hire out of LA, where she's coming from.
Of course.
So there's always these like factors that
so
play
now
into
you have
this.
to kind of almost prove yourself all over again.
A little bit, especially being from the Midwest. It's crazy, like
Yeah.
all the time. We all know, right?
Yeah.
It's like people come in and then you get a phone call and they're like, "So, do you really know what's going on?" And I'm like,
Right.
"I hope so."
Yeah.
Because
I don't think people would put, and in that business, people do not stick their neck out if they don't
100%.
feel, because that, I mean, they really are putting. I've worked in it before in the acting world, and in other, I mean, you don't get onto a set unless you are qualified, invited. I mean, it's yes, there's nepotism. Yes, there's people that are on certain levels, but everybody. What's interesting about working on those bigger budget things, those studio shows, films, documentaries, things like that. Everybody on set is working. If you go to the grocery store, not only the people that are at the right, there's customers. Not everybody there is working, but when you are on a set, the craft service person is working. Even the person driving the golf cart is transportation for someone else. Everybody there is earning a check for something. Nobody is there shopping. Nobody's there on their day off. Right. And if they are, it's because they work for everybody there is working. That's the interesting thing about there could be 150 people, depending upon how big the thing is. Right. But I mean, it could be a huge crew because you've got lighting, gaffers, and people have to be on their spots because if something has to change immediately, it's all got to get struck and put back in place, back to one, all the stuff. So like you can speak to that probably the most because you're there and and you're a cog in this massive machine that's got a massive budget. And if you want to work again, you got to. Number one, you got to be likable. I mean, because you could be the greatest in the world, but they're like, I'd rather go with the second tier down because I don't want to work with that person because they make my life worse. And so, I mean, like I said, you can kind of speak that, but I feel like that's another reason why you are so beloved in the film community because I want to work with you. There might be a better DIT out there in the world, right?
For sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, there's a lot of us.
Hold on, but maybe not. Okay. Okay, maybe just as good, but maybe not better. Okay, but just as good. All right? Yeah.
I love it. I see it. That's why. But that's what I mean is like those are hard jobs to get, and that's a tough. And you got to build yourself into those things, and you be patient, and you have to be willing to do some grunt work. Did you start as a PA?
No. So it's interesting. I want to double back because you were asking about connections, but so I've never worked for this DP before, and like repeat clients is something that does happen a lot in the film industry where you get in good, and that's what I'm working for is to get in good with some people, some DPs who are like, that's my boy.
That's right.
We're going.
That's right.
We're doing every movie together. Because that'd be the dream, right? Where it's just
and that leads to a consistent work environment that leads to having a solid life structure that you're not saying yes to every little project that comes along because you're starving. Right. You can then be pickier about what you take on, and having those bonds with people. That can happen in every single field, that you become that person for that group. We've been fortunate enough the majority of our work is repeat customers, which is insane because we work for a lot of small businesses. So that's nuts that they're opening new locations that then we become that person that comes in. Yeah, we have a large client that's now franchising the Early Bird restaurant, which is now a chain. Yeah. And I did the first one, which was 9 or 10 years ago. And they now are franchising into Iowa. They're talking about Las Vegas and Tennessee and Ohio and all over the place. And we asked them at some point, are you going to just start printing these things off? Like, ideally, that's what makes sense financially. Sure. And they're like, no, this is part of the package. Like, you are, when we pitch to a franchisee, it is this hand-painted catalog. They will come and do the murals within your spaces that we'll travel for. They're like, if you're willing to do it, you are the person that will be doing this. Right. But that's because when they say jump, we say how high. Every single time. We have never missed a deadline for them, for any client. Yeah. Like that is just, but we also work with a lot of like Allie Pointer. We work with Leaders Construction. Sure. We are the hand-painted artist for anything they need for any of their clients, whether it's a school or a hotel or an office building, co-working space. But that's because they know that we'll show up, we're covered with insurance, we have a team that can get it done by deadline, and it's going to look exactly like what they ordered. So if they want to branch out and work with someone new, that's great, but that's them rolling the dice, which is with us, it's a guaranteed return on investment. So that reputation of having the people that know that they can rely on you and that you will come through and that you will say how high, that is so important. And if you are, like you were saying earlier about your temperament, how are you to work with? There are a million more talented artists in Omaha than myself. I'm really good at...
Well, maybe not.
I
beat you to
I appreciate it.
I didn't want to be redundant, but I was like, oh, my throat chakra is trying to come out of this moment.
Let me reword this. I think that I look up to many, many, many other artists that their creativity, their skill set, I believe is elevated from where I'm at. But the thing is that I can get the invoice over in time. I can get the contract there in time. I can have the equipment on site in time. So like they can do better art, but the client knows that we're the package that gets the business side of things. And when it's time is money. And maybe they get a better product from someone else, but they don't know if it's going to be in 3 weeks or 3 months. And that is important. So reputation is everything. And good news travels fast, but bad news travels faster. So if you have a few bad, experiences with people.
And kind of to your point, like growing up playing like sports, someone might be someone might be faster, someone might be stronger. But like people rate things on the overall package. So like just because one attribute is better than the other doesn't make them like better
the best.
Or the best. So I think you have to take it like as a whole.
It's a lot of things that factor in, and I think if we were to sum up just some of what we talked about, I think there is a level of consistency that has to be there. Like 100%. People need to know what it is that they're going to be getting. I do think that there's that level of likability that is there, and I also think people being familiar with you makes a difference. You start building community. They know they can count on you. It just makes it that like you can create a product that they're trying to have get executed, right? So like, as you said, like when you are dealing with, as the projects get bigger, there is higher risk when it comes to the amount of money and the amount of time and all the people's schedules who had to come together to make it happen. We don't always have a lot of time to be able to get you caught up. We need people we know we can depend on. We can have our A team that is there, right? And so like one of the things that I would say is actually really similar to what was just said is how do I show up as my best consistently? How do I stay honest with myself about who it is that I am, what it is that I can do, and make sure that I'm trying to stay in line with that consistently? Because I think, you pinpointed something that I just want to like bring out even more is that I think sometimes to get into the best rooms, you're often invited, right? 100%. To get into the best rooms, you're often invited. It's not always just like these like open calls,
you can't just walk
like, national calls, and now you're competing against, 5,000 people who also put their stuff in. It's generally, somebody calls you, somebody said your name, somebody says, come to this thing with me, and you meet somebody there. It's like an invite is attached in some capacity. And so it's like, what does it look like for you to just show up simply as your best self, be able to speak to who it is that you are, what it is that you're about, what it is that you want, like that you want to do, and letting that carry you. Not trying to say, how do I meet this next person, that person? How do I treat the people I'm around really well? And how do I treat myself well by knowing who it is that I am and showing up in that capacity consistently?
And whether it's a big corporate client or whether it's a young woman that's just opening a small bakery, do you treat both of them with the same amount of respect, the same amount of time management, like across the board? Because anyone could, that big corporate client, that might be their little sister. And when you treat her with the respect that you would show somebody with the big paychecks, then they're like, you know what, I'm going to call them because that's a very, they feel like they can trust.
They all matter, right?
Yes,
like I take on this mindset of, people's time, effort, and energy matters.
Yes.
Like just period, right? So like whether it's a larger corporate client and say if they're saying, you know, we're going to pay you $10,000 to come out for something, and you have a person that's not even a nonprofit yet, but just wanting to start a nonprofit, and they're having a small event, and they say, well, we can give you $150, right? Even whatever it is, if you decide to say yes, you have said yes. And like their time matters, because that $10,000 is easy or hard for the corporate client, and that $150 may be extremely hard for that person who just asked for you to come in, and you're like, that's $150. It's so below my thing. Right. If you said yes, you said yes. I don't care if your normal fee is $10,000. If you said yes for whatever reason, you need to live up to your standard.
It's a bigger risk for those smaller clients too.
You know,
so it's
you have to create an internal standard.
And on the different side of the coin, you know, with Christa's work, here's the thing: unless you know, return clients, because a lot of weddings, unless they, you know, return clients are really right. I mean, if you have a return client, which have you?
Siblings.
I mean, aside from
aside
from like
family members.
weddings, like they get married, they have babies, they go
full circle.
Yeah,
that's different.
That's different. But no, I have not had a couple divorce and they come back and get married.
My joke is I'll always be there for I'll be there for the next one. But before I leave, Dan, I'll see you to the next one. It's a dumb joke. But, they always laugh because they know I'm full. I'm being full, you know.
Before camera, we were talking about how wedding photographers.
She knows.
Like wild. I mean, I do, but that is a wild joke.
I mean,
we were talking about how wedding photographers are experts in reading the room. So maybe how does that translate to other things?
Oh, I think also just being like the expert noticer, like just notice the art of noticing and just like watching things unfold. 100%. I don't know if that answers your question, Kevin.
I feel like that's part of the creative process, though, because I mean, whether you're doing a mural for a community with a committee that is speaking up to what they want to see, or whether you're at a wedding and even though the bride and groom might be, you know, dancing on the dance floor, but then their kids or little brother and sister are over here having a moment, you've got to have your head on a swivel that everybody's experience at that wedding is important. Like photos from my wedding, my favorites are not the ones of me and my husband. It's the one where I'm pinning the flowers on my brother-in-law and my mother-in-law. They're the ones of all the kids at the s'mores bar, you know, like getting their stuff.
And it's stuff maybe you didn't get to experience firsthand.
No.
Not a scene.
And I used to do wedding florals, so being in the wedding business also. And anytime I would meet with a bride and they're like, so, you know, I don't know how much to budget for all this stuff. And I was like, 1,000%. Put your money into a photographer or videographer. I was like, I'm saying cut my budget and put the money into the photographer because they're going to catch things that you don't see. Your flowers, there's going to be good photos of them. There's going to be good photos and then they die. This is what, when you are struggling 10 years from now and you want to go back and look at your photo album and remember why you did this and come back to those moments, you need to have the photos. So that is just like, I get chills when I talk about it because I've had so many conversations with floral clients. Put the money in photography. That is for seeing through other eyes that you didn't get to see those moments. That's so important.
Well, I think it goes back to like the experience that you were talking about. Because like I'll be probably halfway through a wedding and I have people come up to me and they're like, you're doing such a great job. I'm like, how do you know this? How do you know I'm not just botching the whole day? But I'm like, it goes back to like the experience. My lens cover. Oh my God. So I mean, how do they know, right? So
or someone can be very professional but not personable. And that's also
part of that is the job. It's showing up and being somebody who makes people feel comfortable as they're having, you know, history like put down in time. Like I think that is part of the job because somebody might be a good photographer, but if they make everybody in the room uncomfortable, it kind of
are you the photographer that's gonna go get grandma and help her get up and then position her and say like, do you feel comfortable? Is this a good let's get her a chair and make sure that she's but those are the photos you look at and like those are the ones that are fleeting because like especially with family members, you don't know how long you're gonna have them around. So really including that. personality in it.
I want to say like that personality thing is true for anybody who works with clients, to make sure that you're creating a hospitable environment for anybody that you're working with, any team that you're working with. Like we talked about, it's useful for like your growth and career growth, but also it's really essential that you realize when you are working with other people that it's not just about you. I have had creative projects literally break down because the videographer does not want to collaborate with anybody that's there. They have a bad attitude. And not only are you like, I'm not going to work with this person again, it actually messes up what it is that you're making, like at the exact same time, right? And so it's just like, that is a part of the job. It's not just like, what is the product that you're making? If you're the one making it, on some level, you are attached to that project from the time you say yes to the time you're like, here's all of the materials, all the assets, everything, all the way down to the invoices, right? And even something that I'm trying to balancing it better at is like when you get to the point that you can, bring in other people who fill out the skill sets that maybe you don't have, right? I know it takes me a little while to get the invoices back out and things like that. Bring somebody in, right, who has the abilities that you have in those areas that you're really great. Bring in somebody else who has those other skill sets that are great to help round you out so that you can improve your overall process, because people are not just looking at the output, they're looking at the total package.
And that can be extremely hard to do, because finding the people that fit your sort of, that want to work, that want to do the stuff, and it's not just like the actual work itself. It's also, I want to work with, it's the culture. It's like, I want to work with them. These are the people I want to be around. Like, it took me forever. I found Nate, thank God. You know what I mean? And then, and then I found Matt, or they found me. I don't know. It's like,
it's just like any relationship. You might have a lot of things in common with someone, and you might say, well, this is the partner I want to be with because we have so much in common. It's so wonderful. Right. But that doesn't necessarily round out your relationship. Exactly. My husband is a mechanic. He is a meticulous, motivated, organized, just to the nines. Yeah. That is 1,000% not me. I get to a wall and I was like, this looks great. Let's paint it. And he's like, okay, we're going to project the image. We're going to make sure it's plumb. It's level. We're going to have to level this up a little bit over here. Like, but that's because, and he started working with me over COVID because I couldn't have my regular people that worked with me that I loved collaborating with, but were a little bit more like me, that were just the creative, fun painters. But he comes in and he's just like, okay, well, we haven't got these estimates out. We're going to do these emails first thing this morning. You're going to go to your appointment. Then we're going to go finish this job. So that is so important that you try to figure out how to find people that round out your skill set. Because if you just have more of you, you might be great.
That's great, but there might be gaps, right?
Yes.
Like it might be great, but there might be gaps. And it's so important to also find people that you can truly be your most authentic self with, so that you can be honest, really honest about what am I good at? Like, what am I really good at? What should I be focusing
so you're
the
saying
majority
I should
of my
hire
time
my
on?
wife.
I mean, maybe.
She can't leave me, right?
Everybody doesn't. But see, like, that's the thing. Is like, just because you work well in certain spaces. Totally. No, but people might want to bring on their friends. Totally. They might want to bring on spouses. And like you heard me say, you got to be really honest about what am I good at and what are you good at, and does it really fit together like a puzzle piece? Because just because we get along really well doesn't mean that we don't have the same weaknesses.
Yes.
Right? And so like finding people who truly do balance that out and who also can take your personality that can fit the culture. And like when you are somebody who's bringing other people on, you get to determine, okay, well, does it fit my culture? Right? Versus if they're getting brought on, they have to be able to fit into the culture at least for a certain amount of time.
I think Taylor can really speak to this
because
the bar restaurant business is like, culture is everything. I mean, we talked about this before. You can go to a million places here in town and have a better drink or a better sandwich or whatever it is. But if the people behind it are not personal, the service is bad or whatever it is, the sandwich is amazing. It's great food. But like, number one, it takes forever. They make me feel bad about it. The price, it's whatever it is. There's all those things. But culture, I think at the Maven Social is of utmost importance.
Yeah, it's always the people make your own business. I mean, if you lost all of your employees, that bar wouldn't be the same bar. If you lost all of your employees, that restaurant would not be the same restaurant anymore. It's always about the people that make the business. I always say that we're not in the liquor industry, we're in the people industry. It's cliche, but it's very true. It's very true.
Yeah.
100%. And challenges. We'll go around and kind of talk about what we're working on like right now. Is there anything specific that, you know, either Maven or Alice and because you're between, what are the brands that you're between?
Yeah, I'm the GM at Wicked Rabbit, and then I also run Alice, and we have the...
Have you guys been to Wicked Rabbit before?
Too. Mm-hmm. It's cool.
Have you been?
Is that right next to Hotel Delco?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I have been.
Yeah, pretty cool. Through the looking glass.
Yes.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's basically the first speakeasy in Omaha, realistically, for that aspect.
Define speakeasy.
So speakeasy is going to be a hidden bar with a secret entrance, realistically. So speakeasies came back in the Prohibition era, where you couldn't openly drink. You could if you're really rich, and that was basically about it back in the day. So
that's kind of like today, right?
Yeah.
You do whatever you want if you're rich.
Yeah.
So speakeasies were specifically a hidden bar, typically with a false entrance, or it would say like dental office, and you go in the back and there's a bar, kind of in essence. So Wicked Rabbit's right downtown, connected to Hotel Deco. We've got a liquor store in the front, and then it's got a secret door that opens up. So it's kind of fun because Ken is one of my favorite people in the entire world. 6'12", Thor-looking guy, mohawk, listens to punk.
That'd be 7 foot, right? 6'12". 6 foot 12 is 7 foot.
Let me do the math on that.
It's in a jail cell by himself, just blasting punk music. So you walk in, you see Ken. And you ask for the Wicked Rabbit, you're not quite sure where you are, and the secret door opens up, and then they got great staff at the back, take great care of you. Beautiful ambiance. There's just that dichotomy of that front area, punk music, and then back area where it's just all pristine, taken care of, top notch kind of quality.
I gotta say, I don't drink often, like a few times a year. I love going to that place.
I've got great non-alcoholic cocktails too.
And
That's great. I would drink. I love it. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Something for everybody.
And it's just it's about that place is 1,000% the experience.
Oh,
I was
It
just
is
about to
like
ask
that's.
I love mine.
It's really
And
beautiful.
so I know that there is obviously with Through the Looking Glass and Wicked Rabbit with those names, and then you've got Alice. What's going on with those names? I mean, is there a theme that we need to know about here?
Yeah, there's a little something there, and like that's kind of the creative aspect about it too, is it means whatever it means to you.
Yeah.
So of course it is related a little bit to Alice in Wonderland. Let's be honest, but at the same time, like none of our spots are like specifically Alice in Wonderland themes. That way, just has that creative aspect. It's whatever it means to you. Wicked Rabbit specifically is kind of like chasing the rabbit down the rabbit hole to go ahead and see where that leads to. So just kind of following your own passion, finding something new, just being creative in your own right, and trying new things, learning new things.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, especially our aspect, just with trying new things, there's always something else. I mean, with up on the walls right here, I've got about 300 to 400 bottles. If you mixed all those together with 3 different ingredients, I mean, you have thousands, millions of different options. So that's the fun part. There's always something new out there with seasonality coming in, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, stuff like that as well too. My staff always about once every week, I probably get about 8 different cocktails my staff want to make. So we'll kind of go through that like, okay, this is great. How do we make it better? Okay, this is awful. Let's go from in this direction. Then it also comes into an aspect as far as like, hey, we need a citrus cocktail, we need a vodka cocktail, we need a whiskey cocktail. So that way it gets us a place to start.
And
Go
outline.
ahead and like outline and then kind of go from there as well too, and just kind of watch what develops. And that's the fun part, just kind of watching what develops. Knowing your medium, especially all you guys know, that's extremely important. And just kind of seeing what develops out of there. Because sometimes you'll mix 2 different things together. Sambuca is a licorice liqueur. You got pineapple juice. Both of those things are very specific flavor contexts. When you put them together, it's amazing. It's weird. You wouldn't think that would ever taste good.
It's like paint. You put 2 different
Yes.
colors together, you get something
And-
different.
yeah,
Different
okay,
contrast.
okay,
See?
fair,
See?
okay.
Now we're
Okay.
But she had that little like licorice and
No.
pineapple. I like
No.
pineapple. What
No.
are we doing?
Why ruin it with black licorice?
Absolutely.
Pink
Chocolate
and-
tastes like
pink
chocolate.
and- yeah.
Fair.
It's the weirdest thing.
Okay, I have
Weird thing.
experience just like that when I was working down in working in Exarban Village. We did a mural that actually Kevin came out and did some filming on, and we had almost the entire background painted, all the colors that were in it, And Jay Noddle came out and took a look at it, and he's like, this looks really washed out. Can we like maybe pump up the level of the color? And I don't know how you guys feel, but when you're almost done with a project and someone says, can we just like, but it's also like one of the biggest developers in town. He's like the guy that writes the checks. And so I was like, but you have to know how to talk to that person, because you have to acknowledge what they're saying and not just say, trust the process. You have to like explain it, but also validate their commentary on it. So I said, okay, let me just do a black outline on this so you can see how the color is going to pop once this happens. So like you said, those are two different things that someone might not like it, but then you taste it and see the whole process done.
Sure.
And once the black outline was on it, he's like, these colors don't even look the same anymore. And it's like, it's all the contrast. It's the contrast with the black. So, but you have to validate people's comments on that, because that also stops you and says like, okay, well, maybe they are too washed out. It's good to make them feel like their commentary matters. Like no matter who they are.
100%.
Yeah.
Christa, tell me, you know, you do destination weddings, right? The difference between that and like, you know, just something, you know, in your, like, is there a project, or when I say project, they're all projects because it's still, but like, has there been an event or a wedding that like stands out for you? Like something in your, you know, what would you say, kind of, you know, just to give you a little, just give you an opportunity to, you know, like, was it a destination wedding? Was it a, you know, first time you brought the drone out? Like what's something that you've worked on recently that you're pretty proud of?
Gosh.
Tough question.
I'm pretty proud of most of them.
Of course. Of course you are. Of course you are. You should, of
All
course.
of your,
I take pride in that.
all of your clients should feel really good that you said that.
Of
because
course.
like, it's not just this one big one that makes you feel good. Like
100%.
all of them make you feel good.
And I don't want you to
That's awesome.
single out by giving a name. I'm just saying like, you know, I went this way and I tried this thing, and you know, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, was there something where it's like it clicked for you? Like you know, maybe you did a Colorado wedding, or maybe you did something similar.
He's hinting at his own wedding.
No, I'm not.
I don't know.
Ours was on a small farm. We didn't like in the mountains or anything. Things like that. Okay, maybe I'm.
Yeah, you might have been.
Not he verbally paints the whole picture for us.
Listen, this is my show.
Is your wedding photo going to be like the thumbnail for this talk?
That's funny.
I love my wife. She's making No. But yeah, I mean, like, I'm just from, you know, because we're all like elaborating on these big things, and you know, I mean, you're modest with your work, so I'm trying to, you know, kind of.
Oh man, I'm a modest person.
You are.
I don't know if you know me.
I do.
The most humble person ever.
But that's why we love you. We love you. But your work is, I mean, it really does speak for itself. And so I just want to give, you know, what was there a time where you're like, yes, I know I can do this for a living? I mean, because I think all of us have been to that point. Was there a time where it's like, you know, I did this thing and boom, I got the pictures back and it was just like, I can do this?
You know, for the longest time, I didn't know if this was like even a thing to be able to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Like I was like, and I went to art school at UNL, and like, no shade on the professors, but they were just like starving artists, and they put this mindset in your head. And I'm like, okay, so like I hired my wedding photographer, and I was like, he obviously did it full time at the time. And like, I was just like, I have no clue where to even begin. So for probably 10 years, this was my hobby. And it wasn't until COVID where like everything like smacked me in my face. I had some pretty big life events happen and finally got serious. And I was like, I want to do something for myself and put myself first. I was tired of building someone else's empire. So this doesn't answer your question, but I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Please.
Here.
Yeah.
So like it was really actually a mindset shift that my business, I hired a business coach, got really serious, and they helped me see that it was possible. And like earlier I was talking about staying curious and being open-minded. It was all about my mindset. It had nothing to do with the work that I was producing, that I was capable of it, because I was very capable of it. I shot my first wedding in high school. Like, why would you put a high schooler in charge of a wedding? Just saying. But anyways, so
good for you though.
Like,
they believed in you.
They believed. They were my aunt and uncle now. You know, so like, they believed in me.
Nepotism.
No, I know. But no, it wasn't like this one project. Like I've been a photographer all my life, pretty much.
Sure.
So
you decided you made the decision was like, I'm gonna do this for me because and then you saw other people doing it too. I'm sure it's like I can do that.
Yeah,
it's
and
just
that community too, being able to have that support system and like peers in the industry, whether they're photographers, videographers, florists, just being able to have people that you can like bounce your ideas or your problems and questions off of. Having that community is just so important. So it's like, wasn't the work that like told me I could do this. People were coming to me.
What was the most unique?
Really quick. I was just gonna say I was an in-house videographer for like 2 years, just an employee at an architecture firm, and it was my friends who were doing it freelance that were like, "You have to quit your job."
Yeah.
And I was like,
I wish I had those people.
You know the quote, like, be the person that you needed when you were a teenager.
Yes.
Be the person that you needed when you were a creative that didn't want to just continue contributing to someone else's bigger picture. Like, that's what we need to be to each other now. And I have to say, like, talk about money. It is important to talk about money with 100%. Other creatives. It is absolutely this like, oh, if you talk about money, then it's because you sold out and you're only concerned about getting paid. Pay artists. We are small businesses ourselves. It is a job. It is a career. It is an absolute legitimate way to pay your bills, to pay your mortgage, buy a car, pay for your kids' college. It is not a hobby. Just because we enjoy what we do, that just means we're fortunate. That doesn't mean it's not a job.
Right. 100%.
And I just think that when somebody is talking, like if there's a photographer out there undercutting everyone's pricing, there are ways to call them out or to educate the community on it. We've had a lot of experiences that people will say, we want a mural on the side of this building, and we give them a price, and they're like, oh my God, I had no idea it was going to cost that much. That doesn't mean we're too expensive. That means that's the standard.
She's paid by Big Art, by the way. She's paid by Big
Art. What is Big Art?
I know. She's plugging Big Art over there.
I just think it's so important to talk about those finances, because there's other mural artists in Omaha and around the country that are always going to say, but I just enjoy what I do, so I don't want to overcharge people. It's like, but if you charge a going rate, then you can pay your artists more. We pay top dollar to everyone that comes and paints with us. We've got about 10 subcontractors that work for us every year. It's our most expensive bill that we write off. Write-offs are important too. Sure. It is the largest amount of money that we write off every year is our subcontracted labor. But we expect damn near perfection from everyone. I don't want you making TikToks all day while you're working with us. I don't want you texting your boyfriend. I want you on the wall working, having a good time. We're going to buy you ice cream when the day's done. We're going to give you great pay.
Shoot, I'll work for free.
No one should be working for free.
I failed the test.
I just think it's so important. So when we hire people to come work with us that might be a fine artist, that are not like a working commercial artist, we'll say, let's talk about estimating. How are you bidding your projects? How are you estimating your projects? What type of contracts are you using? How are you invoicing a client? Because how you invoice shows your level of professionalism, that you can say, this is how much it is. I'm willing to be flexible to a degree, but I'm a professional artist. This is my business. This is my, paperwork with my header on it, my logo on it. I'm legitimate. We are all legitimate. Whatever we're doing and creating, we're legitimate and deserve to be paid for.
Can I ask a question? For context, I'm 26. I feel like
baby.
You can be my son.
I feel like I'm in this weird position where I was lucky to have a lot of like older friends or artists, commercial, like give you game. And like this advice is very valid to people that have the skills. I think sometimes it's like people that don't have the skills hear that and it's like, oh, I need to just invoice when they haven't done anything yet.
Yes.
So, and it's a weird transition of like,
Yeah.
I felt this. Okay, I'm just doing this to get good. And then there's this gray area where like, okay.
When can you start getting paid for what you're
Yes.
creating?
Yes.
There's a lot of
Yes.
people out there that are artists to whatever level, and they say, well, how much should I charge for this mural? It's my second mural. And it's like, well, you shouldn't charge what I'm charging because I've got 30 plus years of doing this behind me. So there's a level of, if you are new, that can be on a scale of you're building a portfolio.
And I think
comes through the community though.
Yes,
Like,
you have to talk about it.
I'll say I am the most courageous when I talk to my colleagues about how to charge their
Yes.
clients. I'm like, turn it up to 11.
Yes.
Don't let them give them an inch. And then,
But then when it's time for
me,
you to invoice, I'm
I'm
like,
like,
oh,
oh,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what, like, let's go back
I'm
to what I
saying-
said. I had to look in the camera. Be willing to advocate for yourself and try
Yes.
not
Yes.
to be in the mindset of lack and desperation
Yes.
as you are thinking through how you should be able to advocate and communicate what it is that you need. Right. And it is important. I really I was trying to give time, but I'm like, I have to jump in on what you said about like when you were at university, there were people who were there, but they were coming from more of a starving artist mindset. It's so imperative that you get yourself in communities with people who are doing what you want to do, or who have done what you want to do. Mentorship is so important.
Yes.
Whether it's through a coach, whether it's through a friend, whether it's through a family member, you have to get people around you who can really see that your dream can be realized,
100%.
right? And they can
100%.
help you break that down from, I like to say, hard skills and soft skills. They can take your skills and be able to merge them together because you may have the talent, right? But do you have the business acumen to understand how to be able to go from a hobbyist to someone who is building their livelihood off of it, and being around people who see that your dream can be realized if you put these things, this in place, right? It's imperative that you get people around you who can put you up on game, who can talk to you in real ways that says like, listen, I know you want to charge what I'm charging. You may be better served by charging this, right? That doesn't mean like you're charging, 1/10 of what I'm charging. It just may be, I like to say, how do we make it a fast yes and a slow no, right? Like staying inside of
The pocket.
that. Like how is it that like I feel good, right? But also it's not so high that somebody's like, that's preposterous at the exact same time.
I mean,
right? How do you balance that?
That really is like
Finding
what
industry standard is useful.
That's where I've found the most difficulty is, on that tightrope of balancing when to go up here and go over here. And, some of my invoices I send are not invoices, but proposals. A lot of times I'm giving them options, like most of us, you give them options. You've got the,
range.
you get the low, middle and high and you give them that sort of range, like, everybody does, but it's like, that middle is usually the sweet spot because, they're kind of getting everything for the big. It's just, I might not crew up as much here. Or I might, take an extra thing here or whatever. But that middle range is usually kind of, but that is a huge jump when you're doing that. And then sometimes I also feel like that's where this like creative thing is like, well, I'm probably still going to give them everything in that huge, in my bigger package anyways. It's like, I want to make sure that, my work is being whatever, but I want them to kind of see the different tiers. Like, this is kind of where we feel, this is how many hours you get for this is how many hours you get for that. And that's and it is definitely a learning curve for sure.
I would also say like, just reach out. Like, the person you're looking up to whose work is amazing and you would never think you could be at that level or whatever, you can just talk to those people. I think that's how we all kind of got where we are. And so like in the reverse, like people will talk to you.
That's why I sent you guys all messages.
Yeah.
Because I actually do look up to all of you in very, in different ways. I mean, shoot, I've known Taylor now for 6 months since we did that thing last year. And ever since then, I was like, dude, this guy's an artist. I mean, he's very good at what he does, is managing all this stuff. And Christa, I've known you, for years working wedding stuff. And I'm like, I'm not booking any weddings these days. What's your secret, And I don't know anything about what you do, but I respect, all the stuff you've done with Luli and some of the stuff with Early Bird and all the different art you do. I don't know anything about it, but I want to know more.
Everyone in Omaha has seen your stuff.
I've been thinking and I've seen your stuff, I guess. If you're with Early Bird.
But I think each one of you have something for me that like I want to I don't want to like verbatim steal it, but I'm going to borrow some of y'all's art because
but that builds a bigger community. And it's great to see yourself recognized in something. I've seen my murals in the background of Kevin's photos, and that is just like, oh my God, that girl's so sexy. Like, look at her. But then it's just like pattern and color behind her, which I'm getting chills saying it. Like, I love your work so much, Kevin. Like, you're just the sweetest.
Okay.
Kevin, I want to know how you get motivated to do like you're a I know we don't have a ton of time. We could sit here all freaking day. But I do want to wrap it up. But I want to get to kind of the heart of why we're here. And it's like getting motivated to create. Like I think you're one of the most motivated like single creator. Like
hungry.
It's unbelievable. Like I see all the stuff that you're putting out. What's your motivation? Like, what inspires you to just do it, be creative and go do it? Are you winging it? Like, what are we doing here?
So I got like two things. First, for his thing,
jump.
Just for like young people, it's easy to be a mentor if you're doing it because it's easy for me to jump in and give you advice if I see that you've tried. If you don't try, it's hard for me to like give you any feedback. But like if you're doing the work and learning, it's easy to like guide you.
That makes sense, right? Yeah, totally. Because you don't really know where to start, right? If you're doing them, it's like, whoa.
Someone says, I want to be a muralist. How do I do that? That's not.
Yeah, exactly.
How long does it
start from scratch?
Exactly. For motivated, I think I'm like very delusional. I think like I can do.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if I think
so, mushrooms.
No, like I just like.
That's not what he said.
Different conversation.
Okay.
I
think like I heard
rewiring the brain.
That is not what he said.
I don't know why, but like my parents just like instilled in me so much confidence that like I think I could do like whatever. So like,
oh my gosh.
I think everyone does themselves a disservice if they have an idea and don't do it.
Sure.
So like, what motivates me is like, there's so many ideas I've had in the past that I thought it didn't do it, and I see it online, and then I get so irritated. So now it's like if I think it, I need to limit the time between like thinking and doing.
Ideation, execution.
And you said that with doing this.
That's my and that's partially. I heard that from somebody. Maybe Peter McKinnon did a thing. It was like the more time you have in between ideation and execution, it's probably not going to happen. Or if it does happen, this execution it's going to be watered down because there's so much time in between that you lost your nerve or whatever. And that's why I wanted to do this. So I'll keep doing it with different people at different places.
Do it. And
it's a lot of work and it's a lot of stuff, but this is one of the best conversations I've ever had. Like seriously. Like,
and honestly, the young me, if I was like 12 and had the camera gear I had, I would be shooting every day.
So
it's like I'm not gonna shoot, and I have all this stuff, and I know the cool people. It's like I'm gonna keep doing it. And then the third thing, as like a professional, the more I find if I have an editing job and it sucks, but I'm doing it for the check, I'm gonna hate editing if I don't the same day do something cool.
Got you.
So to avoid burnout, I just have to create more stuff I care about. So that's kind of how.
Just piggybacking on what you said, having an attitude of gratitude that you're just grateful that you get to be a creative too. So when you come up with something, you need to just work on it and creative and put it out there because that is also just building your joy in what you're doing. So
like now I can hit up whoever and they're down to shoot. It's like I'm gonna use that.
Okay, I feel like that was my segue to come in. I explicitly train and teach on this because I think these are some of like the keys of life is like your joy really is what can bring you life. And when you step into your joy, that's how you step into your light. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, when I hear us talking about, like you heard me say earlier, like iterations, and you saying like, how do you shorten that gap between an idea and actually producing it? I think that space is called inspired action, right? So how do you take the things that like build like passion and joy, and you do it
Specifically,
through inspired action? I mean, I think that shows up differently for everyone. It's when you get that idea, you get that spark, you get that light that comes out. You don't just sit in it. You take a level of internal psychological safety mixed with confidence, mixed with understanding whatever skill sets that you have, whatever strengths you have. Everybody has some strengths, and you roll with that. And you just get it done.
But
You don't say,
do you research? Do you go like look at examples? Do you try to find to sort of
yes and no,
reinforce
yes
your
and no,
idea?
yes and no, right? Yes and no.
So I'm always looking for reinforcement.
And I think that's what can get people really caught up, right? Because I think sometimes when you start looking at those reinforcements, you get caught. You get caught in the imposter syndrome. You get caught in like just like the research of it. You get caught in like, oh, it's got to be bigger. It's got to be this good. It's got where it's just like just get that iteration out. Like so, you know, I'm a big believer at this point in my life of, you know, you learn by doing. Right, more so than me. Like, you know, I really love to be a muralist, right? And some people might say, well, I'm gonna just start following a bunch of muralists. I'm gonna like get books. I'm gonna take a class. Like me now would be like take inspired action.
Come paint with
get a canvas, get a poster, and like make something. Go get a couple of cans, right? And like get out there and just like get a YouTube video up and like just do it. Like learn by doing. When you have ideas, be willing to take inspired action. And when you take those inspired action, if you notice you light up, right? It gives you some joy. Keep going, and then you'll start to meet more people. You'll start to get jobs. People will notice what it is that you're doing. They'll notice there's something a little bit different about what you bring. Like 100%. Like you can make things as good as like that person can make things, but there's something about that energy, that's there. And like I gotta have some.
If
more
you exude
of that.
joy and pride in what you're doing, and that is attractive to people. I think I've gotten jobs not because I was the least expensive. Like a lot of times we'll be more expensive because we've got so many years experience. When I walk into somebody's restaurant or business, it's like, oh my God, these windows, this lighting in here is bananas. Like this just has such a great flow right back to where you want this mural. Like this is just perfect. When you show as much joy for what you're doing for your clients and for your own creative self, people feed off of that.
They feel it.
They're drawn
it's back to that experience.
Yes.
Like you feel it. Like people, like that's our whole conversation. People can feel.
They can feel it, but also comes out in the execution too, right? Like the work itself.
So practical advice. Last year, I did 87 days. I posted a video a day.
Yeah,
I shot it and made it.
Dude,
it forced me. You don't have time to overthink. So like, I think it's kind of like a muscle. If you do it every day, you can't be bad.
Sure.
So now the muscle of like an idea and executing,
So it becomes habit, right? It's just a forced habit type situation.
I have no discipline for that. I have probably 50 to 60 jobs that we've completed sitting on my phone. Photos, time-lapse video. I hate doing social media videos because I overthink the paragraph, talk about how I feel about the person and what I saw them go through. And I just can't post, just get it out. But
I did a consequence. If I didn't post it, I had to give my friend $5.
That's so good. That's so good. An accountability partner.
It's like a swear jar.
Yes.
It's like a swear jar for.
Yes.
But see, like that's what a mentor, what a mentor or a coach can be, is an accountability partner. And one of the things that I really want to make sure that I state in this moment around accountability partners, whether that's through like friends, mentors, or coaches. Coaches can change your life. I want to be very clear about this. Coaches can change your life. And you do, like in the space of like, how do you like shorten that gap? Do not get caught up trying to pay somebody $30,000 before you actually do the thing, right? A good coach is not going to take your whole life savings. Okay? Like, be mindful of that. A good coach is not going to take your whole life savings to do what it is that you want to do. First of all, always remember that you could just do it right now with whatever you have. You can do it. A good coach may charge some for their time, but they are there because they care about you and they want to see you thrive in that capacity. They are not only utilizing you to pay everything to subsidize their whole lifestyle. So be mindful of that, because I've seen that with just so many artists that like you think, oh, I need to get my knowledge up. I need to get my skill set up before I go out here and do it. And really what you can set yourself up for is getting taken advantage of and wasting a lot of time, not actually doing the things that light you up that you want to do. So just like learn by doing, find other people who are doing what it is that you're doing, put some accountability in place, get some consistency, try to have a good vibe as you do it, and like be as authentic as you can. And I think generally, like we can all say, stuff will work out on some level. Stuff will work out for you.
For sure.
You don't have to have it all figured out.
No.
And I can tell that you have listened to Gabby Bernstein. I don't know if you know who that is.
I don't.
Oh my gosh. Well, you were talking about inspired action, and I kept thinking of her words like, inspired action clears my path.
Yeah.
And,
Gabby
like,
listens to her.
Come on,
Gabby.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, Gabby. I can't wait.
Okay, well, I guess I was wrong. But I just kept hearing those words, like when you were just like asking those questions. It's like it will come to you. You have to like the curiosity, the open mindset, and being able to be like take an idea if it hits you and sparks fly, you just run with it. Just like you did.
And that's kind of what I'm working on now is I want to be able to kind of develop this in conversations that can hopefully whoever sees it can have, they'll have their own questions. They can DM with different things like that. And that'll bring different subjects to whatever. I want to make it a big community thing. We can't get everybody in the room at the same time, but, slowly but surely you start to kind of build a little bit of a thing. But then, I also think that stressing collaboration has always been, when I'm by myself is when I struggle the most because I second guess
Isolate.
myself. I do.
COVID was bad for creatives.
And that's where the delusion comes in. It's like, bro, I think it's cool.
That's enough.
And that isn't right. And I do like some of the stuff that I do, but I, like you said, I got so many things on the back burner that I'm posting because I'm like, nah. Because it's not my haircut or how I look. For me, it's like this sounds dumb. This is stupid. Like I'm not.
Yeah, you can't do that to yourself. Don't discount yourself.
I know.
What I think
I'm working.
Your ego is getting in the way. I see it. I see it now.
I agree. Ego death for sure, no question. That's another reason this is free therapy. That's what I'm
could happen. What could happen is like if I make something today, in a week I'm gonna be better than today. So if I don't put it out this week, I'm gonna hate it because I'm better.
You're stretching that muscle.
So if you
My
wait,
God.
you're kind of discounting yourself again.
I'm learning so much.
Sharon, I had a question for you really quick. So in the filmmaking world, it's totally different. If we don't have time, we can come
do. Yeah,
So
if you guys do, we do. I can't afford them, but
so there's like this idea of free work. Because I know with the whole business thing, and I just am curious what that translates for you guys, but we will go do free work, and because it's kind of just part of the industry a little bit, and you have to manage very carefully with how you spend your time in that regard.
Yes.
And especially at the bottom end with getting started, that's the easy foot in the door. Like I can show up on somebody's short film.
Okay, I have a
there's no
very good
budget.
response to this.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so building your portfolio, yes, you're going to be lower cost or possibly even free, especially if it's for family or close friends or something. What I have done now, because there are still clients that I will give a friends and family discount to, but I will give them an invoice to say, this is a $3,000 mural that I am discounting to $0 for you. So if you hire another artist to come out and paint a mural of a similar size, it will be at least or around $3,000. So you're not just giving them something for free without an acknowledgement of what its value is. You are telling them, I'm doing a $10,000 mural for $5,000. If it's for a nonprofit, get that form for your taxes that you're
Right.
doing a $5,000 donation to them.
501(c)(3),
Yes.
501(c)(3).
Yeah. So
3C.
that is basically like, that is what I tell people, especially when they're beginning, is even if they're beginning and doing it for free, say, just so you know, the going rate in our area is going to be $15 to $20 beginning rate a square foot
Sure.
for this mural.
Sure.
I'm doing it for free, but in the future, and if you tell anyone else
Right.
about this
Yeah.
project,
Then,
tell them
yeah.
they did give me a great deal, but they said the value is
Right.
this much.
Sure.
That way,
educating your
yes.
clients
100%.
that way they don't go into
we
it
had,
next
and
time.
super quick, we did a big project for Red Oak, Iowa. They came to us a year previous. They said, this is what our budget is. This is the square footage. Right off the bat, it was like $4 a square foot. Can't do it. That's just not going to be able to happen.
Right.
So instead of just saying, I can't do it, I said, here is a list of 7 murals that we did, how much they were. So I was very transparent
Sure.
with what they cost square footage wise. Some of them were big clients, some of them were smaller clients. And I was able to say to them, we could do this at a minimum of yada, yada.
Right.
And he said, thank you. This guy, even though I told him, no, we couldn't do it for that price, he said, thank you so much. We didn't have a frame of reference
Right.
for this.
Yeah, and a lot of
So
people-
what
yeah,
they
sure.
did,
Yeah.
we expected to never hear from them again. God bless this town, Red Oak. You guys got to go visit. It's just beautiful people down there. They fundraised another $10,000 to add to that budget.
Wow.
Reached back out to us, even though we were the ones that said no.
Right.
And he said, we love
Yeah.
that you were patient. You helped us understand what the value was. And they said, we value artists' work. We don't want to just find someone else to do it for our lower budget.
So those
We
things
want to
start-
make sure more people want to work with
Right.
us. So then, even though we still did it at a discount for them, they knew what the value was. We went there and did the biggest mural we've ever done. We stayed at that guy's house. They made us pancakes for breakfast.
Oh.
It took 3 weeks. It was almost 100 degrees outside the whole time. It was the most fulfilling project we ever did. They knew what the value was. They knew that we gave them a great deal. And it was such a beautiful result because it was an educated understanding of how that worked.
I love it.
But then we set a standard. Every other artist they hire, they know what the minimum needs to be.
Such a good lesson in, like, you know, it's a really easy thing,
Yeah.
but it can be easily overlooked as well.
Yes.
Like to
But be
forget.
patient with people.
Totally.
Understand, like,
100%.
so people come, how much is a wedding bouquet? I mean, do you want 3 flowers or do you want a cascading piece? Like,
It's-
do you want a wedding video or do you just want some family snapshots?
Right.
There is such a wide range.
100%.
Understanding your customer
Totally.
is very important and educating them on what the standards are.
I
So,
agree. Yeah.
This is very bad, but like for like the free. This is
That's
gonna,
a wild way to
I
start
just-
that.
I just-
Like,
yeah, I
if you
just-
point at somebody else.
Yeah.
I want the
Like,
good, the bad. I
this
want it
is-
all. Let's go.
this
How
is-
about
This is
this?
terrible,
Yeah,
but let's get into
Yeah,
it.
this is gonna
That is,
sound
oh,
bad.
I felt this. All right.
But, like-
We're in a bar,
I
so
feel-
if it's that bad, we're gonna drink.
I feel like the free, like, just like the free filming thing. It kind of is like for what? Like, unless you,
Yeah.
I think you should do it for free if it's like, okay, I have this idea for a project, and
Yeah.
I will be able to use it for a portfolio to get me paid. It makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think the like film crews, they fall into a trap of like they all work on this one project that no one sees that doesn't really do anything.
Don't tell these guys that.
I know, that sounds bad.
They ain't working
Yeah.
for much.
this is going huge.
But it's only worth it if it's for experience or like it's for a
Mhm.
portfolio. So if it's not going to fit into either of those,
Yeah.
it's like
Right.
not really,
Right.
in my
Yeah.
opinion,
Right.
not worth it.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, so this is something that in my professional career I have continually advocated for sustainability for artists. And so I've had the opportunity to be a senior executive, particularly my background is in opera. My original background is in opera, in human resources and diversity, equity, inclusion, but really focused on belonging. And inside of this, there is that space that you have to be willing and ready to teach people.
Yes.
Right. And this is
Mhm.
something that, like, as we are, like, being a starving artist is not acceptable, just in general. It's not okay for anybody to be out here starving that's also working. That doesn't even make sense to me. And inside of that, we do have to be ready to teach people. And we're teaching for our own, we're teaching first ourselves, right? So splitting something like, here's the valuation, is you teaching yourself, this is my valuation, I feel comfortable passing to people. I'm teaching the other person that's on the other side, like this is what you should be thinking about in general when you're thinking about hiring people for this kind of work. But then also you're setting the standard for what comes after you, right? So it starts to build up the industry standard. And this is something that we all have to do together as a creative community that we're still doing in 2025, teaching people the value of art. And that really does bring a whole nother conversation. We start talking about like AI and like what that brings in, but we're not gonna get into that right now. But like teaching people the value of art. And so when you have the opportunity to speak up, to advocate, to help set standards, that you make sure that you're doing it in a way that it serves not just you, but it serves how we are thinking about artists and creatives in the industry. Because I am not, like, I think I'm not a big fan of free work. Okay. Like I'm just not a fan of free work just in general. So definitely the in-kind donation is a fantastic one that it was a while before somebody put me on game with that one. So I feel like a gem was really dropped. And in that, another thing that I have utilized is if you can't pay like what the amount is, but it's something that I want to give, like having some type of honorarium that's there. It should not be that you have adults coming out completely for free unless everybody's doing it for free, right? So like if we're just having, I like to call creative jam sessions. So like, or you know, so like if we're just having a jam session, like, you know, I'm modeling, you're shooting, let's do it. If this is happening and we're both doing this for free, then like, okay, we're just having fun together, and building our portfolios at the same time.
It's like an educational play.
Yeah, but if there's money happening at any point, then like you should be passing that down. And that goes for something when people think of like the creative arts, like photography, dance, visual arts. But even you heard me say I'm a speaker. So like even if you, and like speaking is an art, like I just want to be very clear about this. But like if there's like a conference 100%. And you want a speaker to come in for free, but you're charging tickets for the conference, like if there's money that's happening at any point, then that means everyone who's involved should be getting something. Because even if it's you're coming out for an hour, well, we want to make sure that you get $25 for that hour of your time.
If they offer, even if it's a low amount, it just shows that they know that you're valuable. Even if it's not enough, it just shows that that offer is even there. That is so important. But if they just say, we're just looking for people to donate their time, and it's like, well, I'm looking for someone to donate time to fix my car too. Right. But that's another thing that's so important is that no one goes to your restaurants and says, I really like this meal, but would you be able to do it for this much? Like there's no, you don't call a plumber and say, well, I do need to get my sink replaced, but could you do it for this amount? No other businesses do that except creative businesses. But it is still a business.
100% true.
And they're so just think of that. Where do you go and say, I'm hungry, but I don't have that much? Well, then you go somewhere else and you buy some food somewhere else. So why do we do it so easily? And we should not be.
You both are saying like something very key. Like you both are saying a lot of things because you guys are pros. I'm like young, so like I have so many.
You gotta stop saying that. You're like man.
His mom look his work up until you look his work up, and you're gonna be like,
yo, your mom.
I'm saying that to say I have friends. I have friends that I know that hear this conversation and they're like, I won't work for free, but they need practice. I think you should practice for free all the time. So they don't get better, they don't sharpen the skills because they think they need to get paid to do that.
That's also a dangerous mindset. There's a lot of overconfident kids, and I use the word kids because I just mean inexperienced.
And that's why I said
of any age. But there's a lot of people out there just saying like, I don't, my stuff don't stink and I deserve to get paid for this too because I've got this equipment. And it's like, you have nothing to show for that price.
And so if you are like just starting, you are building a portfolio. Well, one, again, that's a great time to have some creative jam sessions. That's a great time for you to build community with other creatives and other artists. Because if I have never done photography before at all, I might say, hey, can I come on a shoot with you and be your second person? I can do lighting. I can do anything, right? Like, so if you're in that kind of space where you're like, I'm transitioning, you can't expect the same thing as somebody who's been doing something for 15 years. Like let's be real, right? Yeah. But if there's a money part, you could still say, I'm going to give you $25 to come and do my lights. Like, I'm not getting paid anywhere near what the contractor is getting.
You're a videographer. You want to work on a show, you can help me with this production.
Right. Right. But if you are dealing with I am a fan of like mentorship programs and things like that. That might be a little bit different. So if you're dealing with a college or a high school, again, that is a different type of scenario. If you are 14 shooting your family's wedding, baby, be happy they're letting you shoot that wedding. Like they're taking a risk on you, and you know what, they're paying you in that hug at the end, right? But you're still getting paid something, right?
So I just wanted to clarify because of that.
Yeah, make sure you're getting some type of an energy exchange, which is bigger than money. Make sure it's an energy exchange that you can be happy with. But it's important that I say this: you will never get paid what you are worth. You are worth so much more than any amount of money. You'll never get paid what you are worth, but you just need to make sure that you're getting paid something that's a reasonable energy exchange for you.
Just to tack onto the end of that, I tell people all the time, it's critical we protect our enthusiasm. And if that number does not make you show up to work and be so happy to be there, it's not enough.
No.
And likewise, if you, back to like what you said at the very beginning, was like, if you accept a number that is below what you're enthusiastic, you have to show up. You still have to show up.
That enthusiasm.
So there you just like.
I want to sit here for another 4 hours, but we all have things to get back to. We'll have you guys on again for sure. Like, we'll go to another place another time, and we'll do that for sure. I gotta put a bow on it.
I love that you're having this conversation because I find so many times that people are so disjointed and so unwilling to think that you have anything in common with someone else until you sit down at a table, break bread, and you realize the things we have in common are so much bigger than what we have that separate us. Because like things that you guys do, it's nothing like what we do. But I have so much in common with everyone at this table. So these conversations are just rad.
I mean, it's really important that I brought in a whole vast array of from restaurant, because I think the major art there, restaurant, bar, from photography and video, what we do, but then also we film the stuff that you produce. Like we're taking photos of stuff that you produce, and I mean, look at you got stained glass here. That's art. Somebody did it, and the
life is art.
The arches from who designed the sconces. There's art everywhere in everything that we are doing, and so there's a vast array of things, and that's really why I wanted to do it, because I struggle with getting out there and being a part of that community, and I shut myself in so much that I'm like, okay, I got to get out there. I got to do something, because it's going to inspire me then to do that more. So I seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate each and every one of you. It really does mean the world, because I wanted to do this. As Nate, I wanted to do this since I've known him, and I tried an iteration of it. Did not work out. Was not just the culture of the field wasn't right. But I knew, get some people that you respect in the field and bring them in and have a conversation. So
That's awesome.
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. That's it.
I have a request before we leave. I mean, we're like right here, can I get a mocktail made? Okay, period.
I don't know if he's set up. I don't know if he's set up like that.
Can we take? He already said yes. Don't be trying to take my yes away.
We're gonna take a selfie. We'll
You said you're gonna take my yes away.